Turn the camera up.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Matters of Faith, the radio show. Matters of Faith is a show designed to bring issues of interest to you, the listening and
Turn the
viewing
camera up.
audience, that will put a biblical perspective on good evening, everybody, and welcome to Matters of Faith, the radio show.
Reverend Dr. J.
Matters of
Lauren
Faith
Russell,
is a
and
show
it is my
designed to bring
job to
issues of
engage you in
interest to you,
stimulating
the listening
dialogue.
and
Turn the
viewing
camera
dialogue
up.
that's inspiring, encouraging, and motivating. Dialogue and conversations that will help you build your determination, your commitment, and your character. Conversations that will help you keep the faith. Everyone born of God overcomes the world. This is the victory that has overcome the world, even our faith. 1 John chapter 5, verse 4. And now, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, without further ado, it is time for Matters of Faith, the radio show.
It's Monday. It's 8 o'clock, and it's time for Matters of Faith Radio Show. I am your host, the Reverend Dr. J. Lauren Russell, and tonight we're talking about the devotional Fathers, Pay the Price of Freedom. My very special guest tonight is Reverend Darius Woodley, pastor of the Community Church of Christ here in the Bronx. We're broadcasting live on a Matters of Faith as well as our Matters of Faith and J. Lauren Russell Facebook groups. So tell a friend. They don't want to miss this broadcast tonight. We are talking about the devotional Fathers, Pay the Price of Freedom with our very special guest, Reverend Darius Woodley, pastor of the Community Church of God, Church of Christ. Come on and join us. We'll see you in a minute.
Please support our advertisers and our sponsors, the JLR Company and J. Lauren R. Consulting LLC, for all of your church financial consulting needs. You can reach us by email, jlaurenr@jlr.llc. That's jlaurenr@jlr.llc. Or you can reach us by phone, 718-328-8096. That's 718-328-8096. For all your church financial needs. It's not about the castle. It's about the kingdom. Matters of Faith, the book. The hard copy you can get using our Zelle account, jlorenr@jlr.llc. That's jlorenr@jlr.llc. The cost of the book is $24.50. You can send a check or money order to the JLR Company, Post Office Box 301, New York City, New York 10035. If you want the ebook, then you can go to www.smashwords.com/books/view/993177. If you use that method, the book has no shipping and handling. It is $20. Also, check out the Eat Okra app for Black-owned restaurants all over the nation and a lot of other things that you might find interesting. That's right, Eat Okra. Professional, compassionate, and family-friendly services in your time of bereavement. John J. Fox and Sons Incorporated Funeral Services. They proudly serve and have been serving the Bronx for 125 years. If you have a need, please give them a call, 718-733-9114, 718-733-9114. When you're in need, John J. Fox and Sons. You focus your business on profitability and your church on spiritual excellence. Let E.G. Edwards and Associates handle your accounting and taxation with confidence and professionalism, with excellence. Financial Solutions is just a phone call away. 718-941-949-5181. That's 949-5181 in the 718 area code. E.G. Edwards and Associates are here to help. Dial 718-949-5181. And get your subscription to Better Mag magazine today. A 2-year subscription is only $27. $27.50. www.abettermag.com. That's www.abettermag.com. And please, ma'am, please, sir, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. And while you're at it, make sure that you also subscribe to our Matters of Faith blog, www.mattersoffaith.blog. That's www.themattersoffaith or mattersoffaith.blog. Let me tell it to you one more time to make sure it's clear. www.mattersoffaith.blog. I'm still super excited about the fact that we have our own blog, www.mattersoffaith.blog. Please, ma'am, please, sir, do not hesitate to subscribe to the Matters of Faith blog. That way you will get the devotional every Sunday morning, and anything else that we publish, you will be the first in line. www.mattersoffaith.blog. The Evangelical Church of God family personally invites each and every one of you to join them on any Sunday at 1 p.m. for their afternoon worship service. We worship first, third, and fifth Sundays in person in chapel, 1205 Washington Avenue, Bronx, New York. That's right off of 168th Street. We also worship online every Sunday, 873-6003-1163. That's the Zoom ID, 873-6003-1163. Again, the invitation is extended. We hope to see you in person or online, 873-003-1163, or at the chapel, 1205 Washington Avenue, Bronx, New York, 10456. I want to give you the special invitation to come and join us on Wednesday nights for the rest of the month of June at 7 p.m. at the Evangelical Church of God. I will be teaching the book of Jude at 7 p.m. You can join us via Zoom, 873-6003-1163, 873-6003-1163. We'll be talking and teaching from the book of Jude, an urgent call for followers of Christ to contend earnestly for the faith against the infiltration of false teachers who distort God's grace to justify sinful lifestyles. You don't want to miss this teaching. Every Wednesday, the 10th, the 17th, the 24th at 7 p.m. in the month of June.
And this Wednesday is the last month of June, the last Wednesday in June, so don't miss it. If you miss the other ones, a little bit of something is better than a whole lot of nothing.
Imagine this. An employee wakes up with a sick child, a prescription to fill, stress building at home, and no time to sit in a waiting room. With Revitalized Health or Integrity Health, they can reach concierge medical care quickly, get help navigating the system, access mental health support, and tap into prescription assistance without feeling like they're doing it all alone. This is what changes lives. Not a brochure, not a promise. Real continued support when real life happens. And yes, the employer may save some money too. Give us a call. Maximize employee wellness, minimize business costs. 718-757-1527. 718-757-1527. The JLR Company is here to help. 718-757-1527. And now the devotional. Fathers, pay the price of freedom. You can find that devotional in my link, mattersoffaith.blog. That's www.mattersoffaith.blog. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. You can also find it in the Yonkers Insider newspaper, www.yonkersinsider.blogspot.com, www.yonkersinsider.blogspot.com. You can find it in Better Mag magazine, www.abettermag.com, www.abettermag.com, and the Positive Community magazine and or their newsletter, www.thepositivecommunity.com. That's www.thepositivecommunity.com. It's also carried in Pamela's Big Heart newsletter. Fathers, pay the price of freedom. Ephesians chapter 6 verses 1 through 4, New King James Version. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your fathers and your mother, which is the first commandment with the promise, that it may be well with you and you may live long on the earth. And you, fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath, but bring them up in the training and admonition of the Lord. Fathers, pay the price of freedom. Fatherhood is a privilege that allows men to lead, guide, and protect their families, helping them to avoid or minimize the pitfalls of life and self-sabotage. Fathers make sacrifices so that their children can become their best selves, laying the foundation for personal success and self-determination. Fathers can liberate children from bondage through discipline and instruction from the Lord. In the African American community, we just celebrated Juneteenth, our Independence Day. For me, there is a parallel between Juneteenth and Father's Day. Both days are set aside to commemorate the struggle for liberation as a God-given right. Fathers leading the way for their children, and our forefathers in their valiant struggle for the freedom of their yet unborn children. Some fathers and father figures have enabled us to break free from self-imposed and social limitations, allowing us to pursue our desires and exercise our God-given rights. The Emancipation Proclamation exception clause, allowing slavery as punishment for crime, perpetuates modern-day slavery. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crimes whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Fathers must train their children to not voluntarily re-enslave themselves through the criminal justice system. Freedom is to be used to serve and share with others, as taught by our fathers, our ancestors, and by God Himself. Biology makes fathers, but love makes daddies. We must teach our children about the Emancipation Proclamation, teach them about the 13th Amendment, and most of all, teach them of the freedom that makes us free indeed, the blood of Jesus. That's love, and the price fathers must pay for freedom. Happy Father's Day to all those who are biological, spiritual, and surrogate fathers, as well as mothers who have had to be both mommy and daddy. Be blessed. Now, here's my question this evening. If God holds you accountable for how you prepare the next generation, what evidence would you present that you actively trained, corrected, and covered them in truth, not just provided for them? Let me ask it again. If God holds you accountable for how you prepared the next generation, what evidence would you present that you actually actively trained, corrected, and covered them in truth, not just provided for them? Mattetrs of Faith family, help me to welcome tonight my very special guest, Reverend Darius Woodley, who is the pastor, preacher, and leader who has been serving God and his community for over 30 years. He answered God's call to ministry in 1991 and was ordained by the Church of our Lord Jesus Christ in 1998. He has studied the Bible at various institutions such as the New York School of the Bible, Church of Christ Bible Institute, West WL, Bonner College, and New York Theological Seminary. He also holds an honorary degree of divinity from the Commonwealth Bible Institute for his life achievements and contributions to the church. Pastor Woodley has a deep love for God's people and a pastoral gift. He followed God's guidance to become the pastor of the Community Church of Christ, which was founded and built by his grandfather. He was installed as the pastor in 2001 by Apostle W.L. Bonner and Apostle James L. Clark, Jr. He was also a founding member of the National IT Committee for the Churches of Our Lord Jesus Christ Incorporated. Pastor Woodley has a wealth of experience in computer technology with a Bachelor of Science degree in computer science. He has helped many people with their technical needs throughout his career. I know I'm one of them. He also has a passion for teaching and is a John C. Maxwell certified coach and the founder of Life Changes Community Resource Center Incorporated, which aims to educate and empower people of all ages and promote literacy in the communities he serves. Darius Woodley is a visionary and a purpose-driven leader who has dedicated his life to bringing positive change. So, Matters of Faith family, would you welcome with me this evening my friend and this awesome man of God, whom I've grown to love and to respect greatly, Reverend Pastor Darius Woodley. Okay, I think I got it all in there. Only thing I didn't do is put your picture up there. So come on.
Man, I was like, take it down. You know, glad to see you.
How are you?
I'm well, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for taking my invitation seriously and coming and being my guest. I'm really excited about this. This is a good night. I'm really excited. So let me do this. Let me ask the question I ask all of my guests. I read the bio. They know something about you, but tell us something about you that we don't know, but we really should know.
I love animals. I have a 180-pound dog. He's 7 years old, and
Wow.
that's my dude. You know, it's my ride or die dog. So yeah, that's it.
Wow. I think I saw the dog. I think I saw him.
Yeah, his name is Bear, and I see when I walk in the dog, people's like, it looks like you were walking a bear. So yeah, I am. You know.
So yeah, didn't you recognize him? Name used to be Smokey, but we just changed it to Bear, right?
There it is. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. So what is he? I was thinking not Rottweiler. He is
Cane
um,
Corso.
what is it?
Cane Corso. Some people call him a Cane Corso, but it's actually an Italian Mastiff. So I say Cane Corso. Most Cane Corso owners say Cane Corso. He's a Corso. It's an Italian Mastiff. Same thing.
Gotcha.
Big
Gotcha.
dog,
Big dog.
loyal. Yeah, you know, and I say that I mentioned the dog because it takes I think a certain level of discipline to raise that type of dog, that breed. So
Is that right?
yeah, structured discipline, you know, and
Mm.
it's good. He's a good dog.
So
Good for
you've got to be consistent in order to raise the dog because the dog follows your lead.
absolutely, absolutely. When people see me
Very
with him,
emotionally, if you're emotionally all over the place, then the dog will be the same.
Pastor Reverend, if you were emotionally unstable with this type of dog, you would have a menace to society on your hands.
Really?
They're strong. They have the third strongest bite force of all the dogs in the canine world, and they can be very vicious and very destructive. You
Wow.
if they stop using them in the police, they use them sometimes in the military. But if you get hit full force with one of these dogs, you're not gonna make it.
Mm.
My dog pops basketballs with his teeth.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, he's a good dog though. Very, very mild temperament, and I'm proud of that. You know, I can walk him in the park and everything, and people come up and pet the dog, and he doesn't attack other dogs unless they come at him first. You know, but
Okay. Unless he's provoked, huh?
exactly, he's a good
Uh,
dog.
that's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. So that is something that I didn't know about you. I mean, because we never really had a conversation about your pet. And so,
Yeah,
that's really interesting. Very interesting. And I get a chance to see him myself.
you'll see
Uh
him one. I put
Bear.
him because I don't want him. I didn't want him coming on the camera unannounced. So he's down. He's in the basement right now.
Got you. Got you. Bear. I'll remember that. I'll remember that. I'll remember that. So listen, welcome to Matters of Faith, man. This is what we do. We do this once a week. We've been doing this for a number of years now.
Right.
And I don't know how in the world this is the first time you've ever been on. I don't know how that happened.
I've been really, really busy. Monday nights have been tight for me, and I've been dodging the bullet. So, so
Okay.
sad.
Well, you're here tonight. That's a good thing. So,
Yeah,
and I'm glad that you're here tonight because it's both Father's Day, Juneteenth, and I kind of wrapped it up together so that we could talk about those things that really impact the community, the communities that we live
yeah,
in a significant kind of a way. And the devotional that I read or that I wrote, it kind of ties those things together because I really wanted to look at how we are impacting our own communities by information that we don't have.
right. Nicely written, by the way. And I don't know if I've told you that already. I read it. It was good.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm gonna say this in advance because this will kind of add some fodder to what we're going to talk about. But I spoke at the I led a prayer and devotional period for the 100 Black men over the weekend.
Oh, good.
It was a 7 a.m. Worship service, and they said I've never done it before. So I asked them what could I expect, etc. So I prepared extensively for it, and so on and so forth. And I went, and so there was one young man in the audience that I had an opportunity to speak with. He was with his grandfather, and so I asked him, are you familiar with after I did my introduction and stuff? I said, are you familiar with the 13th Amendment? He said no. I said, had you ever heard that before? He said no. I said, so you're going to be charged now to tell
Hmm,
all your friends because everybody needs to be aware of what happens when you are incarcerated and you're duly convicted of a crime. You go from the land of the free to the land of the slave.
exactly. Exactly.
And we don't talk about that. We don't share that enough in our communities. And so, we're not recognizing the fact that we're relegating people from taking them off of the plantation, but putting them right in prison. And it's the same thing.
Same
Only
thing.
you have legal slavery.
The words are the same. Like, so someone that's been incarcerated has given up their freedom.
That's
And
right.
we don't think about associating freedom with slavery, but you're absolutely right. You know, if you're working in the prison, you're making pennies on the dollar for a full day's work. That's not humane.
No, it's not.
That's
It's not. I mean, they did that before, right? They did that. They had debtors prison, right? You go
hmm
to jail, you're in debt. And the
right.
debtor's prison, you work off your debt, but you never worked it off.
Never worked it off.
But they did that, and then they had a, I don't know if you ever heard of peonage. You ever heard of peonage?
No.
Peonage was so like this law that was on the books. So a person could accuse you of
Oh.
owing them money
Okay.
without any evidence.
No evidence. Just
Right.
the accusation.
So like what we recognize today, all it's all over the place. No evidence. You just throw it
Justice.
out. Right.
Gotcha.
And you're arrested and put in debtor's prison. And you work. And you know where those debtor's prisons were? They were in places like West Virginia, in the coal mines. They were in these places where literally you just disappeared, never to be seen again. They work you till you die. And so most people don't even know that part of the history of the country or how they use these different laws, not just the slave laws, not just the codes and all of that, but other things that were embedded in the law that people could use to put you in a position where you would be incarcerated. And thus the 13th Amendment worked for this nation, not for the persons who were formerly enslaved.
Yeah. Yeah.
Conversations that we have to have. We have to have those conversations.
The Bible says it, but the Bible says my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge.
Yes.
We do have to educate our people. Yeah.
And it's interesting because how do we do that? You know, I was talking with for a local pastor, and someone they just smeared the church with what looked like feces, but she said it was blood.
Oh wow.
On the door, on the door system, you know, the bell system, and on the wall itself, newly constructed building in our community.
Wow.
You know, it's like, what? And
Wow.
so you look at stuff like that and you say, now, what is it that's possessing people to do something like that in a community where, you know, people would not even sit on the steps of a church when I was coming up. I don't care what you did. I don't care if you were a drug addict. I don't care if you were a drunk. There was a level of respect for even the building of a church.
Absolutely.
It
wouldn't cuss in front of the church.
No.
I remember doing the sign of the cross when they passed by the church. And
Yep. I mean, it was just a level of respect for the church that has disappeared.
Totally
disappeared. And then, of course, we started talking about how people are not attending as they used to. So the resources are not in the church that they used to have. So doing things in the church or providing for the community the way churches used to do is no longer a viable opportunity because the funds are not there like they used to be.
Right.
And so all of those things play a part. And so, you know, if so that's not a place where we could impart wisdom and knowledge, which is where people used to get that knowledge and wisdom and understanding. Even when the schools failed us, the churches stepped in.
Absolutely.
And now they're not, you know, unfortunately, we're not available to do that. So something has got to change. That's what I believe. Something's got to change. And I think the Lord is working through his people to make those changes happen. And so how do we get to the people? Well, I think you as my guest tonight, I know this about you, that one of the things that you believe, and as I do as well, that you have to take the church to the people. If people don't come to the church, you take the church to the people.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's the Bible. You got to go where the people are and let them see the faith that you have, that you walk with, that you live with, so that they become inquisitive. But there's something about you? You're different. You don't act like anybody else. You don't get riled. You don't want to take vengeance out on people. You seem to love everybody. How you do that?
Right. That prompts the question.
Yes.
And it opens the door for you to give the answer.
Yes.
My relationship with Christ, that makes a difference.
Yep. There's a relationship that it's one of my friends. I haven't had him on my show because he moved to Ghana years ago, but he practices the Hebraic faith.
Okay.
So he grew up in Mount Vernon, and when I was doing a radio show on what was that, WHCR, was it, up in New Rochelle, WVOX, WVOX. And so I had him on the show, and I knew the answer to the question. You know, I was like an attorney. You never ask a question that you don't know the answer to. So I said, so how is it that you grew up African American brother, you know, in Mount Vernon, and now you practice the Jewish faith? You know, how does that work for you? He said, well, you know, he says, when people ask me about it, he says, I tell people that I have a relationship that I practice religiously.
Okay.
That's what I said. I said, I like that. I like that. So
Yeah.
and that's what I have, a relationship that I practice religiously, because often people say, well, I'm not into religion. I said, me either. You know, I'm not either. But I have
I
a
like
relationship.
have a relationship that I practice religiously. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll process that for a little while.
Yeah. Because anything could be a religion. You know, you can make anything. You could say that's my religion, and you could worship cows and other kinds of things, and that's your religion. But
Hmm.
it's the relationship that we have. And of course, when we say religion, we say something that you do on a regular basis, ongoing, that it's a part of your lifestyle. And this is a part of my lifestyle. This is what I do. I have a relationship that I practice religiously all the time. It's not something I do on Sundays. It's something I do Monday through Sunday, morning, noon, and night.
Right.
So, yep, yep. So,
Cool.
yeah. So talk about the devotional. I want to hear what you have to say. Talk about that. What do you think?
Yeah. So the whole Ephesians chapter 6, verses 1 through 4. Children, obey your parents, and I see a structure being established, a God ordained
Hmm.
structure for how the family should be established. Because let me correct the order, an order in which the family should be established, and he's a God of order. Everything has been orderly defined, orderly created, orderly ordained. The sun, the moon, the stars, the constellation, the solar system, all that God created is orderly. I mean, even just to this ecosystem that we're in. The trees give off oxygen, take in carbon dioxide, which filters the air that we breathe. You know, and the rain falls and waters the earth, and all this stuff is orderly. So when I see this Ephesians 6, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. And,
Hmm.
and he's establishing this. He's starting out with that lowest level of order in the family are the children.
Hmm.
Children, respect your parents. Give the parents due respect. Then it says, honor thy father and thy mother, which is the first commandment with promise. And so God gives us a command. It gives the children a command, and the promise is that you're going to live long. And
Hmm.
live long. What does that mean? Why? Because your parents have been put in place to provide protection, guidance. And if the children obey and honor their parents and listen to their parents, that'll keep them safe from a lot of harm, hurt, and danger. It'll keep them free from unnecessary incarcerations. You know what I'm saying? We
Yes.
understand the system is unjust, but mom or dad says, don't hang out with that person. They're bad company. They saw something. They see something that you don't see. You obey the parent. You don't go to the party. You don't get caught up in the mess. You don't get it. So I'm saying is that that whole structure, children, obey your parents, honor your parents, that your days may be long upon the earth. Then it goes on to say, that whole scripture is, which to me is the premise of this whole discussion. Um, Fathers, don't provoke your children to anger. You know, and that's the whole thing. I think the responsibility, because the father is the head of the household, the traditional head of the household, he has the responsibility to love his wife, to care for her, to not provoke the children to anger, but to raise them up, to be that protector, to be that guide, to be that strength, that source of direction. And if we follow that religiously, right? If
Yeah.
we maintain that relationship religiously, then we minimize the collateral damages that can occur.
Mm.
And the responsibility to me is back on the father. Um, you're a man by virtue of your biological um, development, creation, but you're a father by virtue of that relationship that you have with those children. I'm a father to my kids.
Mhm.
I had to make the tough decisions growing up. Um, had to get up and go to work when I didn't feel like it.
Right.
You know, I had to put up with the sucking of the teeth behind their breath. You know, they wouldn't suck your teeth in my face, you know, because that's you know how we are, right? But the behind the and we have to deal with all of that to help them to grow and to develop into who they need to be. Um, so the whole devotion of the relationship between the Father's Day, the Juneteenth celebration, all of that to me, I agree. It coincides one with the other, and the responsibility to me, the onus is back on the dads, the fathers, to be fathers, and don't let your feelings get in the way of being who you need to be to those children. And that's to me, that's really, really important.
And so interesting you should say that, because I think that, and to a large extent, not only is that a requirement of you as a father, because there are a lot of people who are not biological fathers,
Right.
including, but that same temperament, that same what's the word I'm looking for? The same ingredients the Lord puts in you so that you can use them in other areas of your life and other relationships, because the same temperament that you use as a father, if you use it in other places, you'll get similar results.
Yeah, it's the principle, that's a guideline, and I agree with you. So I was a father long before I had any children of my own,
Yeah, I got that.
because I used to everywhere I went. I traveled with my nephew, my brother's son, Rashid, and everybody thought he was my son.
Hmm.
Even today, his father is deceased now, but he respects me, looks up to me as that father figure, because I was a dad to him
Right.
long before I had any biological children. So it's that commitment, that responsibility to teach, to nurture, to correct. And that's one of the pieces I think, Reverend Russell, that we miss, is that piece, that correction. We don't get it right, because that's why the Bible talks about this. When he says, fathers, don't provoke your children to wrath or to anger. Why? Because the role and the responsibility of the father is to discipline,
Yeah.
but don't over discipline.
Right.
That creates wrath. So in this responsibility to nurture these children, there has to be love mixed in with that instruction to not provoke the children to anger. Why? Because then that makes it more difficult for them to honor the father and the mother. And then
Hmm.
if you don't honor the father and the mother, then they rebel. They're susceptible to society. And then they become part of the prison industrial complex, and they're the ones that become the batteries to keep everything else going, because they're sapping the life out of them, and they lose their freedom. So that
Absolutely.
order, I believe, that
Right.
has been established by God, and it's a piece of it here in Ephesians chapter 6. And you talked about this in your devotional, and that's where I see it. And I think that when that erodes,
Hmm.
then everything else begins to fall apart. The mortar, the bricks, all those things begin to fall apart. Then the wall is broken down, and then there's a breach, and then the enemy can come in and do whatever he wants to do. So this role and responsibility of fatherhood, um, making that tough decision to remain present,
Hmm.
diligent, God-fearing, right? Loving the wife, loving the household. Okay, forget if there's no wife, loving the children, loving the household, because we weren't not the scripture talked about husband and wife, but
Mhm.
just the role of the father, because you could be a father and not be with the woman that you birthed the child with.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But just because you're, and I'll use the expression, just because you're beefing with the woman doesn't mean you have to disown the children,
Right.
because the
Right.
children need the fathers.
Right. Right.
We get our feelings hurt in the process, though. That's why I said it earlier. You can't let your feelings get in the way of being what you need to be to the children.
Yeah. I'm glad you said feelings, because That's one of the things that triggers a lot of sin in the world, feelings. You
Yeah.
know, you've hurt my feelings. You got on my nerves. You said something, you did something, and so now I need to get back at you because you hurt me. And you know that old saying, hurt people, hurt people. And it's
Absolutely.
very true. And so, I always, as you know, I do a lot of homegoing services and funeral services too. Homegoing funerals. Funerals are different. When you have a funeral, they don't know where they're going, right? But when you have a homegoing, they know where they're at. So, but when I do them and I tell people, so listen, when someone says something to you, when someone passes away, please don't take it seriously.
Hmm.
You say things because this thing called mourning and grief, and I wrote a devotion a week before last about that, the blessing in the MOURNING, and I talk about the fact that our feelings get get all jumbled together, and we say things that we don't mean. We hurt people that we love, and we do things that we would not ordinarily do because of the grief and the sorrow that we're dealing with. Is a new feeling, and I don't care if somebody passed away before, someone died before, it wasn't the same. It's never the same. Every death is different. And you don't know the emotion that you may be going through, but you have to regulate your emotions because if not, and when I say regulate, it's you cannot let your emotions dictate how you're going to respond.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely not.
if you do, you have just signed your own death warrant because now you have no control and you'll find yourself making excuses or coming up with reasons why you did what you did and it was wrong. There's no excuse for it.
Hmm.
There's no excuse. And
Yeah.
so a lot of good people tarnish their reputations um, irreparably because they allow their emotions to take over. Darius, I try my best not to get mad. I don't like me when I'm mad because I will do almost anything when I'm mad.
Hmm.
I remember very succinctly hitting my brother with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
I didn't care if because I was mad.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't do that anymore. I make sure I make it a point not to allow myself to get to the point that I allow my emotions to dictate. Now, listen, I'm human, right? Everybody's human. It can happen, but
Yeah.
I don't want to contribute to it. I don't want to just say, well, you know how I am.
Yeah. In my immaturity, I did the same. I didn't use a baseball bat. I threw a baby carriage at him one time. Um, we were a competitive family. We played ping pong a lot, and I threw my paddle at him because he beat me. It missed him and went and put a hole in the door, and it's just all these things, right? But as you grow older, you become in control of you.
Yep.
Um, I'm pretty handy right now. I learned how to fix drywall real well because growing up, not to punch a hole or kick a hole in the wall. And my Uncle Tommy was okay. All right, we're going to channel this energy. He didn't yell at me for losing my temper, but he redirected it, and that's fathering. He was my uncle, but that was fathering. He taught me how to fix it. And so I got tired of fixing stuff. So I stopped breaking stuff. So yeah, it as we grow older, because unfortunately, as a man, the one emotion that we feel most comfortable with, most familiar with is anger.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely.
we don't want to be vulnerable and express a hurt.
Right.
If you hurt my feelings, you diss me, then yes, I'm going to retaliate in kind. You know, but in this society, the way this system is structured, that's not going to work well with you at all because the laws are against you, the courts are against you. And like you said it, and I never thought about it until at this depth until you said it, is that incarceration, you lose your freedom. Those that weren't free in our forefathers' relation in periods of time were slaves. So you are enslaved to this penal system and you lose your rights and your privileges.
Mhm.
And so a lot of the fathers are slaves right now or are enslaved
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
who's raising the children? Who is that disciplinary figure? Now, moms can do a good job if the kids respect them like they're supposed to. You know,
Correct.
that when that man shows up, it's a different story. When the man is in the right in his right place.
Right.
You know, I'm telling your dad, and you know, wait till your father gets home. All that stuff, or even just that man to set the example.
Right.
Set the example of how not to get angry, how to control your temper. I remember, and so here it is. I had a really bad temper as a child.
Mm.
Um, and when my son was born, I saw some of my behavior in him. Here's the thing: when I used to shave, he used to sit there like this with nothing in his hand, just mock
Right.
mirroring my behavior. And so I realized that he's watching me to learn how to be an adult. So I have to be careful of what I do in front of him, so that he patterns and models good behavior. He had a really bad temper,
Wow.
and I had to really help him. And so I had to be softer so that he wouldn't be. I dropped him off at the airport one time, and somebody said something to me. It went over. It just bypassed me because I'm older now.
Right. Right.
My son jumped out the car. He was ready to go. Like, yo, D, chill, calm down. You know, it's not worth it. And so now I'm praying for him in my absence, that when he does have encounters, he'll be chill about it. You know, because so again, that's the role of the dad too, is to know your son, know your children, and then train that child up in the way that he should go.
Yeah.
And that scripture, train up a child, deals with the aiming process, as from like the bow and arrow. I'm aiming, or I'm training the arrow in the direction I want it to go. Then I'm releasing it, hoping that it hits the target. That's the intent. And so with the father and the children, you are aiming them in the direction that they should go, and you're helping them with the proper velocity to reach the target. Because nobody brings children in the world and says, "Oh man, okay, little Johnny can be a crack addict. Okay, uh,
Right.
Sarah over there, she's gonna be the street hoe." I'm sorry.
Oh, I
No,
get it. I get it. That's right. That's right.
that's not our intention for our children. We want the best for them, and so
Right.
we train them, we aim them, we help them grow, and that role of the dad in the home is to be responsible for your children wherever they are. If they're living with the mom, fine, pay your child support. You know, support them, whatever you got to do, and not just money, but the ministry of presence to me makes a world of difference.
Right.
Show up for their events. You know, be there for them. I made it to all of my son's soccer games, all of his basketball games. I didn't miss any of them.
Wow. Wow.
And he's a professional musician now, and I go to just about, if I can make it, whatever. If he's give me the tickets, I'm there. You know. So,
Yeah. And see that's the lead by example.
yeah.
And do that because now your children understand that. As I said, I'm not a biological father,
Mm-hmm.
but I have a lot of nephews and nieces and
Yeah.
grandnephews and nieces. I'm proud to say I have not missed any of their high school graduations. Not
There
one.
you go. There you go.
Because and they look for that, right? Oh, uncle's coming. Uncle's gonna be here, period.
He's gonna be there.
Exactly. Yesterday, and you know, you said something was interesting. You said you took your nephew with you wherever, you know, everywhere you went. Well, my brother was in, you know, he wasn't around. And so his daughter, I told her aunt on her mom's side, I said, tell you what, you got her during the week. On Sunday, she belongs to me.
Okay.
Okay. She said, that's fine. Every Sunday morning, I go pick up. She went, every church that I preached at, they knew her. They knew her so well. They thought she was my daughter. I said, that's my niece. But they thought she was my daughter because I always took her with me. And the interesting thing is that because her friends saw that, they wanted to come with her too. So now I got 4 or 5 girls in my car, taking them to church, whatever church I'm preaching at, and they're with me. And
Hmm.
so yesterday, one of her girlfriends lives around the corner from me. And so she came around the corner. She's got two children now because they're all grown. She has two children now. And she came around the corner. My brother stopped over. She saw my brother. And she saw me. She said, "Hey," she gave me a hug, because they remember that, right? They remember those days. And like you said, you're training them, you're aiming them.
Right.
Now, I can't make them do anything, but I can aim them in the right direction. And so when they're out there on their own, they know that there's a target over there. They
Right.
know that because they've seen it. Now
Right.
you may go this way, but you know there's another target over there, and you can now make decisions because you have a broader perspective.
Right.
And that's what I wanted to do, is give them a broader perspective on who they are. And the same with my nephews and nieces, all of them, all of them. And I pray that they respect me. Let me tell you my little thing, right? I do this all the time. I do it with all kids. I've done it with all my nephews and nieces, my grandnephews and grandnieces, and now great grandnephews and great grandnieces. Here's my way of staying in touch with them and keeping connected. Okay, for every A that you get in school, I give you $10.
There you go.
For every B, I give you 5. You get a C, you get nothing.
There
E, you give me back 5. You get an F, you give me back 10.
you go.
Straight A, I give you $100.
All right.
So send me your report card. I don't want it from your mama. I don't want it from your daddy. You have to give it to me. You
Right.
send it to me. Take a picture of it, send it to me. My godchildren, all of them, send it to me. Now, some don't. And I say, oh, okay, so you want me to keep my money in my pocket. Okay, no problem. But what happens is when they do that, we have an opportunity to talk.
Right.
And so, from this outside perspective, I get a chance to do exactly what you were talking about, help them refocus on some other things. And
Absolutely.
also let them know that I personally, their uncle, respects what they do in school. And
Right.
I'm not giving you this money, you're earning this money.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great, man. That accountability. That's what fathers do. They're present. That ministry of presence is speaks volumes because there's so many fathers that aren't there. And again, back to their feelings. Their feelings got hurt. They don't like the baby's mother. She
Right.
doesn't like them. But it's not the kid's fault. And
Right.
it,
You picked them. You chose them. What you
yeah,
getting mad for? You knew
yeah,
you knew what you were getting before you got in it.
yeah. And some will work towards it to counteract whatever you're present, but still remain present. Let the kids know.
Yeah.
Remind the kids. Reinforce who you are to them.
Right.
So when they get of age, they'll know where to go and what to do. They'll have it. They'll have an out. They'll have somebody there, somebody that cares. That's powerful. The money with the grades. That's powerful.
Yep.
That is what we do to help stay connected with this generation of children. If we don't, we'll lose them. We'll lose them to social media. We'll lose them to the influences.
Right.
We'll lose them to the penal system or whatever. We will lose them if we don't hold on to them. And that's this whole piece of Father's Day, to honor the fathers, those that are biological fathers, those that are fathers in practice and whatever it is. And then again, freedom, this Juneteenth, the whole essence of that, to be made free but not know you're free.
Oh,
So to receive
right.
that freedom and then not know. But then the whole celebration is around this freedom, right? So why would I want to be incarcerated if we're celebrating freedom?
Right. 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 Why would you, I mean, now that you found out, do you want to stay on the plantation? Do you want to stay here?
Yeah.
Now, interestingly enough, you may not know what freedom really means, right? I grant that, because you've been in this incarcerated state so long that freedom is scary. I had a cousin once. I'll never forget this. I had a cousin, and he had been incarcerated for a number of years. He came home, and I'm saying a number of years. I'm talking about like 20 something years. I never met him before, right? I met him when he came home. I was a little kid, and he's like, I can't live here anymore. I can't live out here. So what he did, he literally went to a bank, robbed the bank, and went and sat outside on the car, waited for the police to come and arrest him.
Really?
Yes, sir. He said, and he wanted to do something that was bad enough that it would send him back to prison for the rest of his life.
That's crazy.
Well, that's what happened. But your mind,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, they talk about a mind is a terrible thing to waste. It is. And if you don't protect it, you can lose it very easily. And this cousin, whom I only saw one time in my entire life, never saw him again because he was gone. And
yeah,
so, and I know that can happen to people because I know people who have been incarcerated for many, many years, and they come home and it's like, what am I supposed to do?
yeah,
What am
yeah.
I
Right.
give you, for instance, my brother was incarcerated, and he came home. He was in the South. My sister told me the story. Then he told it to me as well. Um, Remember I used to have automatic seat belts,
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. I
right?
remember.
So he got into the car, and the seatbelt said, and he almost jumped out of the skin. He didn't know what to do. He never seen anything like that before. Because when he went, the seatbelts went around the waist.
Yeah, I remember those automatic seat.
Yep. I mean, he almost lost it. He almost lost it. And my sister was laughing, said, "What's wrong?" He's like, what is that? What is that? Because you just don't have a grip on reality.
Yeah,
And it takes a long time. I work with a lot of people who are formerly incarcerated. It takes a long time to make the adjustment to be free.
right.
If you're still involved, if you're still on probation or parole, or you still have supervision, you're still in the system. So you got this person breathing down your back, right? You need to be home at this time. You got to take this telephone call. You have to have this monitor on your leg. I mean, all kinds of stuff. You're still bound, not by chains, but by a system.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that scripture, Ephesians chapter 6, is so pivotal in this discussion and in your devotion. Um, Children, obey your parents, you know, honor your father and your mother.
Mhm.
That foundation. Fathers, don't provoke your children to anger because the discipline is required. We teach a class, a newcomers class, and it's from a book, um, the what is it? Godly principles, the spiritual disciplines for a godly life. That's what it is. Spiritual disciplines for a godly life. And one of the things the author starts off with saying is that discipline without direction is drudgery. Discipline without direction is drudgery. And so you discipline the child. You give them that order. You teach them. You show them, and you give them the way to go. To give them this alternative, like you said, some people don't know what it is to be free. They're so caught up with somebody telling them what to do that with freedom comes responsibility, and you're responsible for yourself now. And so the man has to be responsible for his own actions and his own reactions and his own behavior. And especially if you bring children into this world, you gotta understand that there's a greater purpose. And yeah, the father's role is important.
You just said something that really, really kind of resonated with me. You said freedom requires responsibility.
Yeah,
So think about this. Sometimes, you've heard of the Peter principle.
Peter.
You rise to your level of incompetency. Freedom can be a level of incompetency because when you rise to a level of freedom,
Okay.
right, you rise to a level of freedom. That means that you have the freedom to do these things. Paul talks about in his writings a lot. You rise to the level of freedom, and
Hmm.
your choices become limitless, and you make poor choices. So you may do something because you have the liberty to do it, but it doesn't make it right. So
Yeah.
the responsibility means that you now, because you have freedom, you have greater responsibility because you've got to make greater choices.
Right.
And it's not always easy to make those greater choices because you are, used to someone telling you what to do. They're the ones who are making the decisions and giving you guidance. But now you're at that level, you make the calls.
Right.
And you
Right.
make a call and it's the wrong call, well, then you have essentially abuse the freedom and the privilege of being free.
Right.
Everyone has got to be careful with that, because with freedom comes that responsibility.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the father's role is important in helping to prevent self-enslavement, because you gotta show that child, teach that child. One of the things I told both of my children, I have a boy and a girl. My son is going to be 34. My daughter's going to be 24. I told him there's nothing you can't do. Whatever, and I told them, whatever you want, you can do this. I don't want them to be enslaved to the limitations that the world puts on them. I don't want them to be enslaved to any limitations that they find within themselves. I told my son, yo, you're great. I told my daughter, she's great. She's from a, and I talk about my son often because he's the oldest, but from her perspective, my daughter was doing crafts. She was making stuff. She was making pens and selling them with the colored tape around them. She was teasing my mother's wig for her and doing my mother's nails. And now she graduated from Lincoln University last year. She's with honors, and she in addition to that, she in what is it, health sciences was her major. She's going to school to be a sonographer right now, to read the sonograph. She's in that field. Like only 5% are black women. And during that process also, she got her cosmetology license, so she's a nail tech also. And the same artistic creativity she's doing, and I tell her there's nothing you can't do. And so as a father, my role is to help to avoid self-enslavement, like not to be enslaved to any limitations that you try to put on yourself or anybody else puts on you. And so that role acted. Now here's a question. Was it easy? No. It was. We had challenging. I had a failed marriage, and so I'm literally parenting, not being present physically, but from a distance, but still making my presence known. Showing up to my daughter was in Pennsylvania. I'm in New York. I drove all the way from New York to Pennsylvania for a 5-minute pinning ceremony and brownies, just to turn around and drive back home, And so again, cheerleading, present at all the cheerleading events. So present, being present. And so I was honored yesterday. She took me out to dinner. We went to a restaurant over there in off of Tremont Avenue, Mama Sushi's. I'm not no plugs for that, but
okay.
Try to broaden my palate and have me eating all this crazy stuff. But we had a good time. It was fun. And just to look at her and see, wow, she's growing and grown. And I'm aiming her. And her mom did a good job with her as well. I'm not knocking that. But the father's role is important to help aim that child, to help to protect and prevent issues, struggles.
And that's and when you understand that, you can't let anything prevent you from being that person in that person's life,
right?
Because they need you and they respect you, and because of that, the parents may be in separate corners, but that's okay. When it comes to the center of their attention, they both say, you know what, whatever we're going through doesn't matter as long as they get what they need.
Yeah.
And that's the way it should work. A lot of times people don't see that. They don't work that way. It's all about me. You don't treat me right. And that's not the way it can't work that way. Because once you bring that child into the world, you don't count. You don't count.
And in all reality, sometimes it's not a joint decision. Sometimes you literally have to make that decision that you're not going to be provoked.
Absolutely.
You're not going to let someone else cause you not to be who you need to be for your children. And that's important. And father in any capacity. So now let's bring it to the church, right? The father's role, that pastor as the father figure for those individuals that don't have a father.
Correct.
So you got to be responsible as a pastor. You have to train up the people. You have to watch over their soul. You have to be there to cover them, to protect them, to guide them. You have to be there for them and to help them grow, not abuse them. Pastors should be messing with the people in the congregation. Those are your daughters, and your son.
That's what they call it, right? Fleecing the flock.
Yeah, man. So it's a responsibility, because the structure, the order that God created is is wonderful. It works when we work it, and that's important for us to know.
Yep. Well, listen, we're at the top of the hour, so let's do this. I'm gonna disappear for a moment. You can do likewise if you want, but I'm going to go back. I wanna recognize sponsors and advertisers and others. And also I want to read the devotional again, ask the challenge question. And what I want to do for those of you who might be watching, never watched Matters of Faith, what we do now is we bring you and make you a part of the conversation. So if you have a comment that you'd like to make, if you have something that you want to contribute, if you want to answer the question that we'll put back on the table, you may do so. And then what we'll do is we'll bring your conversation into our conversation. You will no longer be a fly on the wall listening to what we're talking about, but you'll be a part of this conversation. So please, ma'am, please, sir, avail yourself of that. And then we can have a dialogue, including you. So again, we're just gonna just pop out for a moment so we can do this, but don't hang up, don't leave, stay right where you are, because these announcements are really important, because these are the people who support Matters of Faith and make it possible for me to do what I do. Support those who support you. That's what I always say.
Please support our advertisers and our sponsors, the JLR Company and J. Lauren R. Consulting LLC, for all of your church financial consulting needs. You can reach us by email, jlaurenr@jlr.llc. That's jlaurenr@jlr.llc. Or you can reach us by phone, 718-328-8096. That's 718-328-8096. For all your church financial needs. It's not about the castle. It's about the kingdom. Matters of Faith, the book. The hard copy you can get using our Zelle account, jlorenr@jlr.llc. That's jlorenr@jlr.llc. The cost of the book is $24.50. You can send a check or money order to the JLR Company, Post Office Box 301, New York City, New York 10035. If you want the ebook, then you can go to www.smashwords.com/books/view/993177. If you use that method, the book has no shipping and handling. It is $20. Also, check out the Eat Okra app for Black-owned restaurants all over the nation and a lot of other things that you might find interesting. That's right, Eat Okra. Professional, compassionate, and family-friendly services in your time of bereavement. John J. Fox and Sons Incorporated Funeral Services. They proudly serve and have been serving the Bronx for 125 years. If you have a need, please give them a call, 718-733-9114, 718-733-9114. When you're in need, John J. Fox and Sons. You focus your business on profitability and your church on spiritual excellence. Let E.G. Edwards and Associates handle your accounting and taxation with confidence and professionalism, with excellence. Financial Solutions is just a phone call away, 718-941-949-5181. That's 949-5181 in the 718 area code. E.G. Edwards and Associates are here to help. Dial 718-949-5181. And get your subscription to Better Mag magazine today. A 2-year subscription is only $27. $27.50. www.abettermag.com. That's www.abettermag.com. And please, ma'am, please, sir, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. And while you're at it, make sure that you also subscribe to our Matters of Faith blog, www.mattersoffaith.blog. That's www.themattersoffaith or mattersoffaith.blog. Let me tell it to you one more time to make sure it's clear. www.mattersoffaith.blog. I'm still super excited about the fact that we have our own blog, www.mattersoffaith.blog. Please, ma'am, please, sir, do not hesitate to subscribe to the Matters of Faith blog. That way you will get the devotional every Sunday morning, and anything else that we publish, you will be the first in line. www.mattersoffaith.blog. The Evangelical Church of God family personally invites each and every one of you to join them on any Sunday at 1 p.m. for their afternoon worship service. We worship first, third, and fifth Sundays in person in chapel, 1205 Washington Avenue, Bronx, New York. That's right off of 168th Street. We also worship online every Sunday. 873-6003-1163. That's the Zoom ID. 873-6003-1163. Again, the invitation is extended. We hope to see you in person or online. 873-003-1163 or at the chapel, 1205 Washington Avenue, Bronx, New York, 10456. I want to give you the special invitation to come and join us on Wednesday nights for the rest of the month of June at 7 p.m. at the Evangelical Church of God. I will be teaching the book of Jude at 7 p.m. You can join us via Zoom, 873-6003-1163, 873-6003-1163. We'll be talking and teaching from the book of Jude, an urgent call for followers of Christ to contend earnestly for the faith against the infiltration of false teachers who distort God's grace to justify sinful lifestyles. You don't want to miss this teaching. Every Wednesday, the 10th, the 17th, the 24th at 7 p.m. in the month of June.
And the 24th is the last day of this teaching from the book of Jude. And remember, a little bit of something is better than a whole lot of nothing.
Imagine this. An employee wakes up with a sick child, a prescription to fill, stress building at home, and no time to sit in a waiting room. With Revitalized Health or Integrity Health, they can reach concierge medical care quickly, get help navigating the system, access mental health support, and tap into prescription assistance without feeling like they're doing it all alone. This is what changes lives. Not a brochure, not a promise. Real continued support when real life happens. And yes, the employer may save some money too. Give us a call. Maximize employee wellness, minimize business costs. 718-757-1527. 718-757-1527. The JLR company is here to help. 718-757-1527.
You're a business owner, you need to give me a call.
And now the devotional. Fathers, pay the price of freedom. You can find that devotional in my link, mattersoffaith.blog. That's www.mattersoffaith.blog. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. You can also find it in the Yonkers Insider newspaper, www.yonkersinsider.blogspot.com, www.yonkersinsider.blogspot.com. You can find it in Better Mag magazine, www.abettermag.com, www.abettermag.com, and the Positive Community magazine and or their newsletter, www.thepositivecommunity.com. That's www.thepositivecommunity.com. It's also carried in Pamela's Big Heart newsletter. Fathers, pay the price of freedom. Ephesians chapter 6 verses 1 through 4, New King James Version. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your fathers and your mother, which is the first commandment with the promise, that it may be well with you and you may live long on the earth. And you, fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath, but bring them up in the training and admonition of the Lord. Fathers, pay the price of freedom. Fatherhood is a privilege that allows men to lead, guide, and protect their families, helping them to avoid or minimize the pitfalls of life and self-sabotage. Fathers make sacrifices so that their children can become their best selves, laying the foundation for personal success and self-determination. Fathers can liberate children from bondage through discipline and instruction from the Lord. In the African American community, we just celebrated Juneteenth, our Independence Day. For me, there is a parallel between Juneteenth and Father's Day. Both days are set aside to commemorate the struggle for liberation as a God-given right. Fathers leading the way for their children, and our forefathers in their valiant struggle for the freedom of their yet unborn children. Some fathers and father figures have enabled us to break free from self-imposed and social limitations, allowing us to pursue our desires and exercise our God-given rights. The Emancipation Proclamation exception clause, allowing slavery as punishment for crime, perpetuates modern-day slavery, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crimes whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Fathers must train their children to not voluntarily re-enslave themselves through the criminal justice system. Freedom is to be used to serve and share with others, as taught by our fathers, our ancestors, and by God himself. Biology makes fathers, but love makes daddies. We must teach our children about the Emancipation Proclamation, teach them about the 13th Amendment, and most of all, teach them of the freedom that makes us free indeed, the blood of Jesus. That's love, and the price fathers must pay for freedom. Happy Father's Day to all those who are biological, spiritual, and surrogate fathers, as well as mothers who have had to be both mommy and daddy. Be blessed. Now, here's my question this evening. If God holds you accountable for how you prepare the next generation, what evidence would you present that you actively trained, corrected, and covered them in truth, not just provided for them? Let me ask it again. If God holds you accountable for how you prepared the next generation, what evidence would you present that you actually actively trained, corrected, and covered them in truth, not just provided for them? Well, family, you've heard some things about him. You've heard him speak for himself. I read his bio. He told you some things about him that we didn't know and we should know. But let me tell you some other things about him that you need to know. He's a very adventurous person. I guess that came from his time in the military. But I don't know about you, but I'm not jumping out of anybody's plane anytime soon. But I applaud you for your valor and your bravery. But he's a tremendous community involved person. He's making a difference everywhere he goes. He's also a very outstanding pastor and family person. Family means everything to him. And by the way, he was a drummer as well. Still does. But listen, Mattetrs of Faith family, welcome with me for the second half of our broadcast tonight, my dear friend and brother pastor of Community Church of Christ, Reverend Darius Woodley.
All right, so now we're back.
Where'd you get those pictures from?
Hey, I do a little research, man. I do research.
Here's the irony. That military picture is my father.
Is that right?
That's my dad. Yeah. There's such a striking similarity in how we looked at that age. Yeah.
Interesting.
That's my
dad. Now you said that, I'm going to share. Can I share something with you guys?
Yeah.
We talk about pictures and things of that nature. And that's your dad. I saw something. Someone sent me this, right? I posted something to say, to my dad and to my, Happy Father's Day.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to switch my share for a moment because.
And that's my grandson hugging my head.
Oh, is that right? Okay. So I'm going to come back to you in just a minute. Matter of fact, tell us what we're looking at, and I'll share this with you in a minute.
Sure. So the lovely lady in orange is my mom. Yes. That was on a Mother's Day, and I had on my apron after Sunday. I'm cooking dinner for her. Okay. She suffered a stroke, so she was wheelchair bound. So I cared for her for 10 years. Paralyzed on her whole entire left side. The next picture is my sister, my daughter, at one of my pastoral anniversaries. That's me and my dad there. We're taking photos at the church, and that's Darius, my son. When he was, looks like maybe like 4, 2 or 3. I'm not sure. He was really young, and now that's him there in a grown-up time. I'm not sure what event that was. And that was me jumping out of a airplane, and I did some skydiving when it was 14,000 feet in the air. Crazy. I will do it again.
I know somebody who teaches that.
Really? I will do it again.
Let me tell you what I was thinking. So I was thinking that we get some of these young gangbangers out in the street.
Yeah.
Like, you like thrills? We got something for you. Take them over to the plane and say, now jump. You like thrills? Do that.
So I really contemplated my sanity in the plane on the way up to be dropped. I said, because I'm a logical person. I said, it makes no logical sense for me to jump out of a perfect airplane. And we did a tandem with the guy, but so we were so far up that from the ground you didn't even know. All you heard was the plane engine, and you didn't know that they were coming down until you saw the chutes being deployed. That's how far up we were. They were beyond sight. So it was amazing. I was too afraid to really enjoy it. I will do it again, and I'll take note I was too afraid to observe as much as I wanted to. I was able to land. It was cool. It was really cool.
Got you. I've dreamt of flying before, but I don't
Yeah.
know. I thought about it. I may give it a shot because I like stuff like that. You know, I remember I went to Hawaii
Hmm.
and we were on the island of Maui, and we were driving. I rented a T top Trans Am or something, real
Yeah.
nice.
Okay, I got you.
Got up here and I'm seeing these kids that jumping off of this cliff
Uh,
water, right? I'm like, Evan, I got to do that. I got
okay.
out of the car, I went over and I looked. I said, "Oh my God!" And it was about, I don't know, it was about 50 feet,
Yeah,
right?
nah, not
I
me.
said, "I got to do that." I did it.
Did you do it? Good.
Climbed up the mountain, can I climb back up? And they were like, they were giving me big applause and stuff. They said, "You're the first person that's ever done that." I said, "Yeah." I said, "That's
That's
good." Hey, I said, I like that. I like that. But
yeah.
I wouldn't do it now. I wouldn't
Yeah.
do it. But it was
I'll do,
great.
I'll do zip lining. I won't do bungee jumping.
Oh,
No.
I zip line before. Zip line. I did Tyrone Traverse. I repelled.
Okay.
I loved it. I loved it. I loved the zip line. Zip line was amazing. I loved
Yeah,
it.
I will not bungee jump.
No, I'm not
No,
doing that. I'm not doing that. That doesn't make any sense.
no, not at
No,
all.
big rubber band. I'm not doing that. No. Mm-mm. So let me share something with you.
Okay.
Let me share this with you. I want you to see this. I posted a picture of my mom and dad, like your dad, right?
Hmm.
This is what he sent me back. He put it on.
Wow.
Could you
That's your
see?
mom and dad.
That's my mom and dad. I have
Wow.
that picture's black and white. That
Oh,
picture was
colorized.
in before I was born.
Wow.
My parents have been deceased. My dad has been deceased. My mom, let's go. My mom was deceased in 1972.
Okay.
Dad passed away in 1977.
Wow.
So, the pictures that I have are old, they're worn. I lost a ton of pictures. Just I just put them in storage and lost it, man. I couldn't pay it. And I lost it, and so um this picture is, I mean, it's brought tears to my eyes. I mean, this
Yeah.
was tonight before this broadcast.
Wow. That's
Tears were
nice. Amazing.
standing out my mouth. I said, this is, man, she's,
Hands
I mean,
up.
beautiful. I said, oh my God, So I told the brother, I said, man, you have no idea what you just did to me.
That's amazing.
I thought I'd share that with everybody to show you what my parents looked like on that was their wedding day.
Oh, wow.
It was-
Cool.
So people tell me the older I get, the more I look like my dad.
I see the resemblance.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And he wears glasses too. He wore glasses. So we definitely I definitely resemble my dad. In fact, everybody who sees me says, "Man, you look so much like your father." So
Wow.
my sister looks like my mother.
Okay.
So we got it down pat. But listen, yeah, so we back. Let's go back and let's talk a little bit and thank
Sure.
you for allowing me to do that. I wanted to share it. And
That's
yesterday,
cool.
Daddy's Day, Father's Day. And so that was my dad. I loved him tremendously, my mom as well. And their memories live with me forever. And they've helped that because of some of the things that you were talking about in terms of creating the structure that has allowed me to become who I am.
Yeah.
And I gave you the dates. So I have been without parents in my entire adult life.
Wow.
But the
Wow.
foundation that they laid and the structure that they gave me and my brothers, my siblings, my two brothers and my sister, um, have lasted all of our lives. And that's now being passed down to their kids. And
Yeah.
so, and I'm so proud of that. And they've never, our, my nieces and nephews, grandnephews and grandnieces, they've never met their grandparents. They never
Yeah.
had an opportunity at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't meet my grandparents, biological grandparents. My children, fortunately, they knew their grandparents. That was
Yeah.
good.
Yes, yes. It is. I mean, and I think sometimes we don't realize the blessings that we have that's wrapped up in our family.
Right.
Uh, again, I didn't know my grandmother, my father's mother, never met her. She passed away at the age of 32.
Oh, wow.
Yep. And
Wow.
never met her. My grandmother, my maternal grandmother, passed away. I don't know how old she was, but she passed away giving birth to her youngest child, my youngest on my mom's side. So never met her. But I do have, I met her. I knew my grandfather, both maternal and paternal grandfathers. I have my maternal grandfather's Bible.
Yeah. It's funny. I do too.
Do you?
I do. My maternal grandfather's Bible. I have it. He was the one that built the church. He
Right,
passed
right,
away
right.
before the church was finished.
Hmm.
I too have my maternal grandmother passed away in childbearing. My aunt, I never met her. My grandfather, on my dad's side. My father was the youngest of nine, so by the time his father passed away a long time ago. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting, and so we get these little history things. So the Bible, I mean, it's tattered. It doesn't even have a cover on it. It
okay.
it's just tattered and stuff, but it has the names of all of the children. My
Ah,
uncle,
okay.
and when I got it, one of my mother's girlfriends, her father and my grandfather were tight. They both came from Alabama together and moved to South Carolina. And so they were always really tight. And so somehow or another, he got my grandfather's Bible. And when he passed away, his daughter got it. And so I still stay in touch with her. My sister lives there in the town that my mother grew up in. Um, but she said, you should have this. And she gave it to me.
Nice.
I'm just so happy, man. It's in a plastic bag so it doesn't rot anymore. But it's and when I looked at it, I saw an aunt that I never knew we had.
Wow.
So we thought there were 11 of them. There were 12.
As well. Wow.
And, and so I have all of their names and so on, and so forth, which is great because that helps me to know who, know the history of the family.
Right.
And
Right.
yep, yep, yep. And I have every one except the one that, we didn't know about because they didn't have a death certificate at the time. But all of my uncles and aunts maternally, I have all of their death certificates.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Physically. Wow.
Well, what happened was, y'all want to hear the story? This is an interesting story.
Yeah.
It's in line with fathers pay the price for freedom. I got a notification. One of my cousins called me. Matter of fact, he didn't call me. He gave my name to someone because they were reaching out to him. He said, "I don't know the family. You got to talk to me, because he says, you know, Lauren knows the family. I don't know it. So my mother's maternal last name is Holly.
Holly.
Holly. And so this ancestry company called me and they were asking me questions about my family. So I'm not answering. What are you talking about? So I finally figured out that they were legit. So they said, well, your Uncle Bob's son. My Uncle Bob didn't have any kids. Yeah, he did. No, he didn't. He had no children.
Okay.
Well, he did. No, no, no. What are you talking about? His name is Douglas, right? No, Bob didn't have any kids. I know because Bob, we were close with my mother's brother. He died before my mother did, and so, but I remember that. So he said, no, he had a child, and as it turned out, this young man died. He had no brothers and sisters,
Wow.
and so he had his mother passed away. His father was deceased. His name was, my uncle's name was on his birth certificate. So he's the dad. He died and he was wealthy.
Hmm.
He had a few dollars. So they were looking for, and this company, they looked for like lost money.
Hmm.
Called us and said, listen, we'll help you to get that. We get a percentage. So there was like 18 or 19 first cousins on my side. So I reached out to everybody. I know everybody. I know they all know me. So I reached out. We had a talk. We had a conversation. We talked. So they said, I said, what do you want? They said, yeah, let's do it, man. We not, what do we've got to lose? So we did it. Come to find out, the guy was worth a couple of $1 million.
Wow.
And so the genealogy company, we went to court and everything, and they got their percentage of stuff. We all got about $30,000 each, close to
Wow.
30. Yeah, that's
That's
what. Yeah, I was
that's
like,
cool.
yeah, we never even knew this guy existed. But what they did was they sent me all of the death certificates, and they did a lineage search of everybody, ancestry thing, everybody from my grandparents, all of their children. They didn't go any further than that. But so I had it in my possession. And so what I did was I scanned them all and sent them to all my relatives, everybody. So everybody's got it.
Wow.
Everybody got it. One of my cousins called me one day because he was working on some estate stuff. And he said, man, he said, you sent me this stuff. He said, I need to have, I think he was looking for his father's death certificate. He said, and the attorney told me he was going to charge me like $5,000 to help him find it. I said, no, I got it.
That.
Pull out the file, sent it to him, and in 5 minutes he had it in his hand.
Wow.
So I mean, that's great because I can, I don't have kids, but I can turn that over to my nephews, nieces, and that perpetuates the family and the legacy and all of that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
And
That's
so
great.
that's a part of, that the price of freedom, because my grandfather on both sides were, like the first generation out of slavery. Because my grandfather was born in 1899.
Now, where are your people from?
My maternal family, they came from Alabama and they moved to South Carolina.
Okay.
My paternal family, well, it's a little tricky. My paternal grandmother is from North Carolina. My paternal grandfather is actually from South Carolina.
Okay.
And his name was not Russell. He changed it.
He changed it.
And my father and family know absolutely no one in his family. No one.
Wow.
His name was Fox.
Okay.
He changed it to Russell.
Okay.
So you're looking at a fox. And we know absolutely no one in his family, not a single person.
Yeah, it's interesting to me. I do my ancestry search. I'm on ancestry.com. I got the DNA up there. I'll tell you some stories in another date, but yeah, it's interesting. I found relatives didn't know existed,
Wow. Yeah. Now, I told you that I have a friend of mine, associate minister, came out of Goodwill, James Woodley. I don't know if you guys are related or not.
I'm sure we are. Is he fair skinned, dark skinned? What is it?
Fair skinned, but he was adopted.
Yeah.
Adopted him.
Okay, so I know somebody who knows him. She mentioned him to me.
Yeah, he was just up here just recently. He was up here because one of his biological brothers passed away.
Yep.
Last week he passed, and so he was up for that.
We were
trying to the other book. I couldn't make it happen on my schedule.
I haven't met him. I'm definitely into this ancestry. I went to Virginia. That's my people from primarily Virginia. On my father's side, my mother's side is from North Carolina.
Okay, what part?
Hernsville, something.
Herndon?
Herndon, maybe, yeah, something like that. I don't know them because my grandmother died when my aunt was born. So that whole was interesting because I found documents for that, and she was on Welfare Island for a while, and she was a whole bunch of stuff. It's an interesting story. And then just recently, like last year, maybe 2 years ago, I found a nephew. My brother had a son that didn't even know about. It's crazy. He was put up for closed adoption. Crazy. So it was unknown. He did a DNA search, found me. Crazy thing about it is I knew him all of his life.
Oh, really?
I knew him all of his life. And we never knew that he was my biological nephew.
Wow.
So we just got reunited. We just got reunited last year for the first time. We talk periodically. But he's right here. He's right here in the Bronx.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Wow. His name is not Woodley though, right?
No. I know his adopted family. You know, I'm not gonna put it on live. I
Right.
know his family. He goes to a church of somebody that we all know, um, and it's great. That's my nephew,
Logical nephew.
biological nephew.
That's amazing. And you know, it's interesting. That's why we say it's important that you know who your family is, right? Because when we talk about this thing, when we talk about this liberation, right? Prior to the Emancipation Proclamation, prior to the 13th Amendment, prior to that, when we were quote unquote enslaved, we were sold off. We were transferred from one place to another. We don't really know who our families are because you could literally be forced to have relationships with your relative in order to produce a particular kind of a person, strong or a fair skinned person, whatever the case. I mean, they treated us as
Breeding. That's breeding.
exactly. We were chattel. We were not human. So our lineage is very hard to trace because we were sold off here and there, and like you're in Virginia, my family was in South Carolina, my family was in Alabama, and who knows, they might have been. I went to Bermuda. I went to Bermuda, and my last name is Russell. People thought I was from Bermuda. They were talking to me like I lived there because I looked like their cousin. In fact, I saw a brother over there look like every one of my cousins on my dad's side.
And it may be.
Exactly. Exactly. You don't know. So,
My paternal grandfather's he's from St. Lucia,
wow.
and I don't know anybody on that side at all, but I just found out that he was from Castries. So I'm gonna do some more searching. I went there a couple of years ago to see if I could find anything. His last name is Jones. But we'll see.
I mean, just think about it, right? Because I said my paternal grandfather is from South Carolina. We know that Dorchester County, South Carolina. But whether or not he was born there, whether or not he was brought there, right?
Right.
Because that's part of like the Charleston area. And so Charleston was a very common thing between Barbados and South Carolina. This guy, he had the largest plantation in both places, and that was after slavery, but he just sent people back and forth all the time.
Yeah.
That's why their cultures are so similar. Even the way their accents are very, very similar. You can't tell the difference for the untrained ear.
Yeah. Yeah. So imagine how difficult it was being a father back then to watch your family be torn apart. And then, like you said, making that tough decision, paying the price for freedom, literally laying down your life for the kids or taking stuff that you normally wouldn't have to take to keep people alive. It's a rough situation. It wasn't easy. But again, today it's that thing. Fathers pay the price for freedom. We gotta. It's and I like the title because it's a conscious decision that you got to make. You have to decide to do this. You have to decide to maintain or perpetuate freedom in your family, and not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually. Free. You know?
And that's what it's about. That's really, really what it's about. You have to make a decision in terms of who you want to be in life. And you can use your information that you have, and you can use it to benefit others, or you can use it as an excuse to be whatever.
Yeah.
It's your choice. You got to choose. And that's the wonderful thing about freedom, is that you get a chance to choose.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said something in your article. You said biology makes fathers, but love makes daddies, and that's important. Because a father contributes to DNA, but dads contribute time, sacrifice, wisdom, discipline.
Yep.
Presence. That's important, and I appreciate that the timing of this around Father's Day, because dads need to be encouraged to just hang in there. Don't give up. You don't throw in the towel. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Some things aren't always great, but make that decision to love those kids and be there, for them, so you can train them. Children, they're not gonna remember how much you made or how much money you didn't make, but they will remember whether or not you showed up at the baseball game, whether you were there for the basketball game, you were there for the dance recital, whether you were there for just tea party. I was telling my daughter yesterday, I said, babe, I call her Pumpkin, when you came home from school, when I came home from work, you had the Play-Doh laid out, teacups and the play food, and I had to pretend to eat broccoli and play, and you had my agenda already set for me. But that time that I gave to you after working all day was worth it, because those are the memories that we remember. Those are the memories that we retain. Those are the good times. That's the bonding time, that we have. So it's important.
It is important. It's important because if you're not sharing the time, then what are you sharing?
Right.
It doesn't, I mean, it's nice to be financially supporting and supportive, but nothing takes the place of the time.
No.
Nothing.
No, not at all.
And we've got to recognize that and be comfortable with that. And even though, as you said, you may not be able to get along with the mother or the father of the child,
Mm-hmm.
but for the sake of the child, you have to
Right.
learn how to get along.
Right.
Because the child, as you said, your son used to watch you shave, right?
Mm-hmm.
And imitate you. I did the same thing when I was a kid. I used to look at my father shaving. He used to
Mm-hmm.
use that magic shave.
That stuff stinks.
Oh my God. Oh my goodness. But I learned it because I didn't realize it, but I have my father's skin. I
Okay,
cannot use a razor on my skin.
there you go.
I'll break out, right? And he told me that. So I remember one day, and all of my brothers, my two brothers and myself, we all the same. We couldn't use razors. But I remember one day, my brother came over and I said, "Yeah," I said, "Man, I found a razor I could use." And I used it. I said, "Man, this thing feels smooth like a baby's behind." And my brother said, "Yeah, okay."
Give it a day.
Next day, I had bumps everywhere, man. I mean, big old huge bumps. And I
Yeah,
called him. He said, "I told you." He said, "I told you. You thought you knew." No, I can edge myself, right? The barber can use the edges, but I can't the back, no. And down here, no. I could
yeah.
do it here, but I can't do it down here. And I can't shave. I mean, I could use a razor to make a line, but that's what you learn from your inheritance, from your legacy, from your ancestors, from your father. You learn how you are as a person.
Yes, absolutely. Definitely.
Because we don't know. And so I feel, and that's why I think it's important that for those who don't have a quote unquote father figure in their life, for someone to be there for them. And we can double up on it, 2 or 3 people and 2 or 3 men to lead, guide, and direct the individual, help them so that they have someone that they can talk to and ask those kinds of questions that no one else can answer except another man.
Right. Right.
Very important, man, very important. I remember that my dad in my neighborhood, because a lot of my friends, I think, if I'm not mistaken, there were 2 families in the whole neighborhood of all our friends, and we lived in an apartment tenement building in the South Bronx. But of all of our friends, there was only 2 of us that had a mother and father at home.
Wow.
2. And,
Wow.
and all of my friends, all of my loved coming to our house.
Yeah. Yeah.
They said, "Can we come to your house?" And like, man, we could do fun things, like your mom always. I mean, when anybody came in, my mom from the South, everybody eats, have
Yeah.
food. And one of my friends just said, "Man, I love coming to your house." He said, because, we used to make our own sodas.
Okay.
My father used to buy seltzer water, which, I know
Okay.
people don't know what that is anymore, but we used to buy seltzer water and they would deliver it on trucks. So the truck
Okay.
would come and they would have a dozen seltzer bottles, heavy stuff, man. You carry upstairs, put upstairs, because my parents used to drink and they used to like to drink scotch with seltzer water. And so
Okay.
we would get syrup. So the syrup, you make sodas with it. You mix the syrup with the seltzer water and you make soda. We had cherry, we had grape, we had cola, we had lemon lime. I mean, and we had all these different flavors, right? And our friends would come to our house because we would make them a soda. It was like, man, they still remember that to the day. Those who are still around, they said, man, we love coming to your house. You had snacks, your mom be baking cakes, and it was just fun. And we never locked our door.
Hmm.
In the South Bronx, doors always open. We just go and come and go and go out. Our friends knock on the door, come on in. And that's the way we live. You know,
Yeah.
that's the way we live. Mom was home. Mom was a stay-at-home mom for the most part, for most of our lives. And she just, she had friends. She was a friendly person. Athletic. She was a basketball player.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
my mother was the shooting guard on her basketball team.
That's crazy.
And they didn't play like we played. My mom was born in 1933. So my mom would have been 90 something years old now, right? But when they played, the guards or they had shooting positions. So some people would bring the ball up, not like we see today, and they would pass the ball to the shooters. And
Yeah.
my mother was a shooter.
She's a shooting guard.
My mother was a shooting guard. She was
Wow.
a player on the team. And
Wow.
so her girlfriend that gave me the Bible, she told me that. And then she had clippings because they had a newspaper too, because they went to obviously a segregated school. She had news clippings because my aunt, who was my godmother, was the editor of the newspaper.
Wow.
She had newspaper clippings that they did from their newsletter, from their newspaper that they used to make in school. And so my brother was telling me that she was talking to one of my oldest brother's friends recently. And he said that they were in the park playing basketball. And my mother came in the park. My mother said, y'all don't know what y'all doing. Ball. And they gave us, oh, what you gonna do, Miss Russell? And Floyd said, she did not miss a shot.
Wow.
Every single thing she threw up there. It was like, wow. She said, yeah, y'all know what y'all doing. Y'all know how to play no ball. So that's the legacy. That's what you learn. That's when you find out who you are.
Yeah.
Who you are. It was my mom that taught me how to ride a bicycle, not my dad.
Okay.
And my mom taught me how to climb trees, not my dad. My dad taught me how to play baseball though, because that was his thing. He loved baseball.
Okay.
But he taught me. You mentioned something. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna let you say this. But he said something to me. You said something earlier about temper.
Mhm.
My father used to make furniture, living room furniture, and on Saturdays he would go. He would work for stores, and he would go to people's homes who have complaints about their furniture, and he would fix it.
Okay.
And he charged X number of dollars for everyone he did. And I would go with him because that's how I made my extra money. I never worked like the summer youth program. Never did that. I worked with my dad. And I made enough on one day. I made more in one day than they made for the whole week.
There you go.
So, but I watched him because we used to go to some very exclusive, very wealthy people's homes.
Mm-hmm.
And so they could be very
Particular. I
yeah,
get it.
yes. And so my father, how he used to deal with them and how he used to manage their anger was amazing. I mean, sometimes they'd be arguing. He said, can I just take a look at it? And he said, yeah, but I don't want it because this blah 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 blah. He said, take a look at it. And he would get down and fix it, whatever it was. He said, is that okay? He said, what did you do? And they wound up giving him a tip, and all that kind of stuff. You want a beer? No, I'm working now. I got my son with me and so forth. But I mean, they would just be amazed. But his way of dealing with their anger, and he
Yeah.
showed that there's always another way to deal with things. And he told me that too. I remember him telling me, my brothers used to tease me all the time, telling me I was adopted. I mean, all this kind of just tease me.
Sibling ruthless, man.
Yeah, that's why I hit my brother with a baseball bat. So, and so my father said, why do you let them get on your nerves? I don't let them get on my nerves. They be bothering me, and you should beat them. I'm not going to beat them. He said, you have to learn how not to let them get on your nerves, how to let them bother you. So he said, let me ask you a question. He said, when they tell jokes, is it funny? I said, sometimes. He said, well, why don't you laugh? I said, because they're talking about me. He said, but is it true? Oh, it's not true. He said, so what are you getting mad for? It's not true.
Right.
Funny. Why don't you laugh? So Darius, I had to digest that. And I tried it.
Hmm.
And once my brothers start teasing me, then all our friends would jump in and they kind of gang up on me, right? You know how they do. But I started laughing with them. This went on for a couple of weeks. And my brother looked at me and said, you ain't no fun no more. And I said, I mean, literally, it stopped completely. I was like, man, if I had known this was that easy, I'd have did this a long time ago.
Did it a long time ago.
Yeah. But my dad had that kind of understanding. He had that kind of wisdom. And so, I mean, think about it. My dad died at the age of 49.
Wow.
So, all of those things, I'm talking about him implanting those things in me when I was a kid. And they still live within me. But that's what I'm talking about when you say, the price of freedom. The price of freedom is being able to remove yourself from your own disposition and making sure that you're available so that your kids can get what they need.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Whether they're your biological kids or not, because I'm telling you, everybody in the neighborhood, those were my father was their dad. When he decided to go back to church, and I said, I don't want to go because I was 16, 17 years old. They said, well, we'll go, Mr. Russell. So now my father, that's why I got my niece and all them piled up in the car, because my dad did that. My dad had me, he had my sister, he had all of my friends, all of her friends piled up in the station wagon, taking us all to church every Sunday.
They must have been kin to my parents because they did the same thing.
Yep.
Your mom was older than mine. My dad was 1928. No, yeah, same. 1928, my mom was 1930. So yeah, my parents are a little older than yours.
Well, actually, my dad was 28.
1928.
Yep. Same age.
That's how old my dad was, and my mother was born 1930.
Yeah, that was amazing. So that's why we got so much in common here, because they came from that generation. My mom, 33, but she died at 38.
Yeah. See, wow. They died young. My dad died in 82. At 82, my mother died at 87.
Wow.
So yeah.
That was amazing.
Yeah. Freedom is never more than just one generation away of being lost, man. Every generation has to teach the next generation what freedom costs. And that's what we're talking about tonight. Fathers, they don't only provide for the children, but they're modeling this behavior, modeling this faith, modeling the character. You just said it. Your dad showed you. He's the one that enabled you to do what you do. I learned a lot from my dad. So my uncle taught me the carpentry stuff. My dad taught me the lawn stuff. I can remember, Lauren, that I used to watch my father cut the grass every week, watching him cut the grass. He would not let me touch the lawnmower. Then one day he let me cut the grass, and he saw how good a job I did, because I was cutting that grass in my mind every single week. In my mind, I watched. We had the Black & Decker white and orange black lawnmower with electric cord, and he showed me how to. I watched him flip the cord around and make that pattern in the lawn.
Yeah. Wow.
I had done it 1,000 times before I actually did it.
Right.
Don't you know, when I did it that first time, that became my job forever. I did too good a job, man. But he taught me that. He taught me the yard work and the trimming of the hedges and the planting of the flowers. All that stuff my dad taught me. And my uncle taught me the carpentry stuff. My fence was broken down. Man, I repaired the fence myself. The guys charged me $7,000. I did it for $700. I'm just saying. Wow. But these are the things that they passed on. These men in my life passed on these things to me, that I in turn pass on to my those that come up under me. Now, what my son and my nephew got from me was drumming. My nephew's a great drummer. My son is a great drummer, and my son is a producer. My other nephew is into music. He's a events planner and all that stuff. So all of this stuff came because my grandfather played the banjo. I never met him, but he was musical. My mother played the piano. My dad sang in quartets. So
Hmm.
all that stuff was passed on to us, and how we resolved conflict, how we managed our tempers and our dispositions. We we all got that from those that were there for us, but they would not have been able to do it if they weren't present. And that's why, again, back to what you're saying, the father's being present, paying that price of freedom. What is that price? Sometimes it may be hurt feelings,
Yep. Yep.
overriding hurt feelings.
No
It may
question.
be disappointments. Maybe you get nothing on Father's Day, because whatever, but you still show up, but whatever it is, but you're teaching these children not to be bound, not to be captive by anything that the world has to offer or to present. So
That's an interesting story. I as you talk about your uncles contributed. One of my uncles was a painter on my mom's side. My uncle on my dad's side, his youngest brother, bought an apartment building, and I convinced him to let me paint it inside and out.
oh, wow.
He said, "Okay." I hired a couple of my friends to help me to do that.
Okay.
I was an entrepreneur. It was all my life. So my uncle liked that idea. He said, "Yeah, I like that. I like." So I hired them, and we painted his 3-story apartment building inside and out. We didn't
Wow.
we didn't do the plastering and stuff. He had somebody else to do that, but they did the plastering. We did the painting. They plastered up. We sanded it down to make sure it was smooth. We painted it inside and the outside. We were hanging out the windows, painting this house.
Wow.
And
Wow.
and and my uncle showed me how to paint. I remember that. Larry was a professional painter, and he would just be chomping on his cigar as he paints.
How
Chomping.
old, how old were you when this took place?
I was in high school.
Okay.
I was in high school. I was just before I graduated from high school. So I was probably about between 17 and 18 years old.
Wow.
We moved into the building after we painted it. My father took one of the apartments.
Wow.
So yep. It was an amazing thing. Then I convinced him to let me take the basement and convert it into a nightclub. And he did. And then what else they transferred to us, all my uncles probably on both sides were drinkers.
Okay.
Alcohol ran in my family deep. And so that was one of the things that we did. Becoming an adult was like getting permission to drink.
Wow. So did it escape you, or did you get caught by it?
I was an alcoholic when I was a teenager.
Okay.
Now, they say you can tell you're alcoholic if you have a blackout. I did that all the time. I did that a lot. So alcohol, drugs, the whole 9 yards. I did everything. I did everything. But all of my uncles and all of my aunts are deceased,
Hmm.
and all of them, you know, were involved in alcohol
Wow.
in one shape, form, or fashion. And so I was like, and we saw the stuff that they did. I mean, they sometimes come, they'd be fighting and stuff. And I said, I'm not gonna do that. So I don't drink anymore. My sister drank. She was on. I don't know if she still is, but she drank. She stopped. She finally stopped. My brother was a drug addict. He finally stopped. But I just one day said, I'm not doing that anymore.
Okay.
No, I didn't go to a drug rehab. I didn't do anything like that. It's just that I made up my mind that I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not going to sabotage myself anymore. And so everything stopped. So
Yeah.
yeah, but and I look at that and I think about it, and of course we still have persons in our family that still drink a lot.
Hmm.
And I still, I don't understand that because especially with those who saw our upline, they saw what they did. They saw how they were living. They saw that. Why would you, how could you continue? I'm not going there. So, but it was something that, I guess in order to make a change in your life, especially when there's that kind of thing going on in your life, you have to accept the fact that that's a reality in your family.
Yeah.
You have to accept it. It's what it is. But I'm glad today because my brother doesn't drink, my sister doesn't, cousins, many of them don't drink anymore. and we have great times together.
Yeah. And that discipline is the price of freedom again. There you go.
Absolutely. Absolutely is the price of freedom. Speaking of which, we're almost out of time. So
Okay.
let me turn it over to you, let you have your final words. I got some things that the Lord placed on my heart that I need to share with everybody. But I want to really thank you in advance for being with me tonight. This has been really great. I love this discussion. I hope people got out of it what they could, because this was a rich discussion. So let me turn over to you, and then I'll share what I have to share, and then we will be done for the evening.
Yeah. So again, that whole price for freedom. And I said earlier that, discipline without direction is drudgery. And I use my son as a prime example, because when he was 2 or 5, really 5, he said he wanted to be a professional drummer, and I had to make the tough calls for him because it was the football coaches were trying to get him to play football. He was an excellent soccer player. He was an excellent basketball player, impeccable athlete. But he said he wanted to drum, so I had to basically say, no, okay, you can't do those things. You may risk injuries.
Mm.
What I had to do now is I exposed him to people that could play. He was our church drummer at 5. At
Oh,
7
wow.
years, at 7 years old, he was phenomenal. Hmm?
And really doing it.
Really doing it, So then at 17, he's traveling with 50 Cent and that crew, playing for that group, and then he's playing for another group. And Levray, he's on Shirley Caesar's album.
Mm.
He's got a Grammy nomination with Kanye. He's right now in Morocco playing for some other, being the musical director for some other person. But I said all that to say that the the discipline that I instilled within him as a child, and the things that he didn't want to do that I made him do, the practices that I made him do, engage in. I'm not Joe Jackson, but we were disciplined.
Right.
That discipline carries over because in his field, there's nobody telling him to get up and study the music. Nobody telling him to do this. Nobody telling him that he has to do it on his own. And now that whole discipline is freedom for him, because now he's free to play for whomever. He's free to play any genre of music. He's free to be a producer. He called me up the other day. I said, Dad, thank you for making me read music. Because now he told me he was playing with somebody and he had to read the score or whatever, because of that discipline. So the discipline creates freedom. It creates opportunity. So when you subject yourself back to the scripture, right? When you subject yourself to that, then you're able to do what God has called for us to do. I know you got 3 minutes, so you go take it away.
And you said so much, and I appreciate that. Yeah, you just got to come back. That's all. That's all. Just got to come back. So listen, when I preached the sermon yesterday, it was from the devotional, as I always do. But the Lord directed me to change the title and expand the content. And
Okay.
the timing could not be better because we just celebrated Juneteenth and we're commemorating Father's Day. And I saw some connections. Juneteenth reminds us of freedom delayed. Father's Day reminds us of the responsibility required for true freedom. Juneteenth reminds us where we've been, and Father's Day reminds us of where we must go. Standing between the two is the word of God that declares, for I know the plans I have for you. In fact, Reverend Woodley and I talked about my leading a prayer and devotional period on Saturday morning at 7 a.m. for the 100 Black Men Convention. And I spoke with them from the same theme I shared with the church, a conversation in the key of Black. Know that there are people sitting in church every Sunday who are saved but still living as if they're bound. Unlike the enslaved people in Texas who didn't know they had been freed from slavery by the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, 3 years, 5 months, and 18 days before, and 4 months and 19 days after the 13th Amendment was passed. The people sitting in the pews today have been delivered but still think like they're enslaved. They don't know that they have been set free. When Jesus sets you free, you're free indeed. And that's why I had a conversation in the key of Black with the 100 Black men and preached a sermon of the same name at the church. I'm doing my part to get fathers to pay the price for freedom. Hear me now. The passage of the 13th Amendment to the Constitution happened on January 31st, 1865, 4 months and 19 days before Juneteenth. It was later officially ratified by the required number of states on December 6th of 1865. But wait a minute. If you've ever read the 13th Amendment, you'll recognize that slavery was never actually abolished because it means neither slavery nor involuntary servitude except as a punishment for crime whereof the parties shall have been duly convicted shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. The prepositional word except created what we call the exception clause. Except allows legally convicted persons to be enslaved. The 13th Amendment did not abolish slavery, but rather moved it from the plantation to the prison. Now, some might argue with me about that analogy, but I would look to the statistics. Numbers don't lie, but people do. So let me cut across the field and get to the point. The Constitution may have an exception clause. The legal system may have an exception clause. Society may have an exception clause, but God's promises don't come with exceptions. God didn't say, I know the plans I have for you, except if you grow up poor. He didn't say, I know the plans for you, except if your fathers weren't around. God didn't say, I have plans for you, except if you've been incarcerated. God didn't say, I have plans I have for you, except if you made mistakes. God simply says, I know the plans I have for you. Not your mother, not your siblings, not your teacher, not the judge, not your critics, not your enemies, not even your doctors. God said, I know. I know. Yesterday was Father's Day, and the world doesn't need more absent fathers. It doesn't need more silent fathers. It doesn't need more passive fathers. It needs fathers who will stand. Stand in the home, stand in the church, stand in the community, stand for what's right, stand for the truth, stand for righteousness, stand for love. A father doesn't have to be perfect, as Darius had pointed out. A father has just to be present. A father doesn't have to know everything. A father has to show up. A father doesn't have to solve every problem. A father just has to stay in the fight. God's plan is not counseled by systems, history, or circumstances. He still speaks hope and a future. That's why I had a conversation in the key of black. Let me pray. Let me pray. Father, we thank you for your presence in this place and for your word that strengthens, convicts, and gives us hope. We declare that no system is greater than your sovereignty, no circumstance is greater than your power, and no failure is greater than your grace. We lift our families before you, strengthen fathers to lead with wisdom and love, mothers to nurture with faith and perseverance, and children to walk in purpose and destiny. Lord, bring peace where there is violence, unity where there is division, healing where there is pain, and light where there is darkness. We pray for those who are incarcerated, those returning home, those struggling with addiction, depression, and hidden burdens. Remind them that they are not forgotten. They are loved, and you still have plans for their lives. Make us builders of peace, examples of the next generation, and reflections of your justice, your mercy, and your love. As we leave this place, but never your presence, cover us with your grace, protect us with your power, and guide us with your spirit. It's in the name of Christ that we pray. Amen. Thank you, my brother, Reverend Woodley. It's because of people like you, men who hold us down and speak truth to power, that has enabled our community to survive challenges, challenging times, and then to stand at the precipice of a great blessing, our greatest blessings. And I believe that some of the things that we're going through is because we're standing on the precipice of a blessing. Amazing.
Yes, I agree.
Service 25 years at the helm of the Community Church of Christ, and also using your talents, your skills, and your presence to bless the community that you serve. I think I'm within my rights to say that you are the personification of a father who paid the price for freedom.
Thank you, sir.
Now listen, don't forget, please don't forget our advertisers and sponsors. JLR Company, JLR Consulting for all your church financial needs, 718-328-8096. And don't forget that Amaze health plan that I spoke of. It's not about the castle, it's about the kingdom. We're trying to build the kingdom, not build castles. We're building kingdom here. And don't forget to subscribe to the Matters of Faith blog, www.mattersoffaith.blog. Now, when you go there, you put your email address in, you have to confirm it. It'll send you an email. You have to confirm that, and then you'll get all of the devotions and everything else that I publish. And by the way, Matters of Faith, the book, I've been talking about it. There is a real book. This is it. You got to get this book. If you don't have it, get it. A hard copy is $24.15. That includes shipping if you use my Zelle. That's jlawrenr@jlr.llc, or you can get it as an ebook. Ebook has no shipping and handling, so it's $20. I think there's going to be a sale on it. It'll be $10 going forward, so you'll be able to get it there. Better Mag Magazine 2-year subscription is only $27.50. www.abettermag.com. Funeral services from John J. Fox and Sons, professional, compassionate, and family friendly, serving the Bronx community for 125 years. Just give them a call. If you need them, I promise you won't be disappointed. 718-733-9114. 718-733-9114. And for those of you who are preachers and in the ministry, whoever's doing your finances, if they're not good, call E.G. Edwards and Associates. They're excellent. They do accounting and taxation. They do it with competence and professional excellence. Just a telephone call away, 718-949-5181, 718-949-5181. And please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this Matters of Faith YouTube channel, as well as the Matters of Faith blog. Telephone, text, email, any way you do it, but tell a friend to join us regularly on Monday nights for Matters of Faith, the radio show. We're always live on Matters of Faith and J. Lauren Russell Facebook groups. So that's why I ask every week that you subscribe, like, and share the Matters of Faith YouTube channel so that you don't miss a single episode. So on behalf of my guest, Reverend, my good friend, Darius Woodley, let me remind you that the legacy that you have is the legacy that you'll leave. So please join us next week, same time, same space. And if no one's told you this today, let me be the first to say that I love you, and there's absolutely nothing that you can do about it. So get used to it. Now the Lord bless you, the Lord keep you, the Lord make his face shine upon you, the Lord be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Darius, Reverend Darius Woodley, again, I want to thank you, my brother.